Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is Wraith here, back with another video. Now in today's video, I'm going to be basically talking about how you can start improving your mechanics and start getting better at aiming, editing, as well as building. So I know it can be argued that IQ is kind of a form of mechanic like game sense, but in today's video I'm just going to be kind of going through these three: aiming, editing, and building, and basically talking about how you guys can start improving each and every single one, which will in turn help you become a better Fortnite player overall. So if you're looking forward to this video, make sure you slap a like button on it, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, use creator code WraithFN in the item shop, and let's get right into the video. So for the main thing that you're going to have to start doing to obviously improve your mechanics is start practicing that specific mechanic. And you guys might be like, well, yeah, obviously, like if I want to work on aiming, I have to actually go into game and work on aiming instead of just playing the game, which yeah is a little bit obvious, but some people don't know how to actually properly train a specific mechanic. So let's first break down kind of aiming and say how you'd actually practice that. So there's a couple ways. The first way would be, for example, looking up on YouTube an aim course, finding one from either my videos, it's Jaren's videos, whoever's. There's tons of videos on it. There's tons of maps on basically how you can start improving your aiming, and you need to start kind of breaking it down and going into that. So like I said, there's aiming courses that you can find online through YouTube, and then all you have to do is go into that creative map and actually start working it, start practicing, start putting in the time of improving your aiming. If you're on keyboard and mouse, I've said it in multiple videos, I've made videos before on different maps, etc., but you need to start playing Kovacs. Kovacs is like $5.99, but in my opinion, it is so worth it because you can literally just become way better with aiming. I probably have around 300 plus hours on it. Multiple pro players like Zexro, Tfue, blah, 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 they play it all the time. Really good way to start improving your aim. If you can't afford that, or you're on controller, like I said, just stick with aim courses, or maybe download a free one like Aimtastic, Osu, etc., which is another really good way to help improve your aiming. So actually going into something, finding one of those two things and practicing it properly is going to help your aiming overall. The next would be, let's break down editing, for example. So it's kind of the same thing. You got to find a way that you can kind of become better at editing, and there's multiple ways to do that. You can, one, go find an editing course through YouTube, ask your friends, etc., and start ripping through that editing course. Another really good way is just doing things like box fighting, etc., high ground retakes, all around just will help your editing overall. And then the last thing would be building, and there's a couple ways. Basically, like I said, you can 1v1 build fight, you can free build, you can do high ground retakes, etc., etc. There's tons of ways that you can kind of improve at your building, editing, and aim, and I'm going to go a little bit in more detail right now, but that's kind of the generalized focus of it. So the next thing that's super important is when you're practicing, you actually have to be pushing yourself and trying to get better. So many people I see will just be like working 3-4 hours a day on their aiming and Kovacs, or they'll do editing courses for so long and be like, well, I've been doing it for 3-4 hours, why am I not becoming mongrel at editing yet? And the reality is because you're just kind of going through the motions and you're not actually pushing yourself to become a better player. So for example, if you're doing an editing course, you actually have to be paying attention and remembering when you do each specific edit, and like start working on pushing yourself. Don't just go through the motions and go through the edit course or go through the high ground retake without kind of pushing yourself. You actually got to try as best as you possibly can to push yourself to the new level. So for example, if you can only do 3 or 4 triple edits in a row, or 2 triple edits in a row, and you just continuously do 2 triple edits in a row, you're obviously not going to become that much better. You got to push yourself and try and do 3, 4, or try and do 5, or try and do more than you normally would. That way you can actually become better, because if you're just going through the motions, not really paying attention, well then how do you expect to become better at whatever it is, editing, aiming, building, etc. Same thing with Kovacs. So you're just going through the motions, not really paying attention, just kind of doing different courses here or there, well then you're not obviously going to get a lot better. Now the next tip is you gotta put in the time and you gotta put in the work. For example, people like Mongrel, Clicks, whoever the best editors you can think of are, Raider646, all those guys literally spend so much time editing. Like for example, in Mongrel's warm-up videos where he talks about how he has improved editing, and in those videos, he basically states that he was playing probably 3-4 hours every single day after stream or after he was done playing arena, etc., just in creative and just grinding editing. He would be practicing the Mongrel Classic, tunneling, high ground retakes, etc., etc. And he would do that every single day, and like I said, actually doing it, pushing himself, not just going through the motions. And every single day he'd spend 2 to 3 hours, which obviously if you're spending that much time, you're going to become a lot better. Same thing with clicks. Like, he was grinding 2-3 hours every single day, working on specific routines to practice your editing through free building, etc., etc. And you can do that with anything, not just editing. Like, again, same thing with aiming. If you really want to become a better aimer, you have to put in the time. People like Zextro, he has hundreds of hours on Kovacs, literally just working on different courses to overall practice his aim, and there's a reason he's one of the best aimers in the world. Same with Tfue, same with Mongo. All those guys who are really good at aiming put in the time to actually improve it. Just playing the game isn't enough. If you really want to practice that specific mechanic, you need to go out of your way, put in more time than other people are doing it, and that way you'll slowly start to see improvement. You'll slowly start to see that you're getting better and better aim. Like, if you really want to become the best player in the world, or best player you can, if you're just playing the game, that's not really enough nowadays, because everyone's just playing the game. You got to put in that extra work, that extra time to kind of work on that specific mechanic. So my next tip is kind of similar to the push yourself, but it's go out of your comfort zone, not only in game, but when you're practicing. So what I mean about that is, so many people get caught up in doing the same editing course, the same aiming course, or the same edits over and over when free building or even in game, right? And the way you can improve is by doing things you're not comfortable with and pushing yourself kind of to things that you haven't done before. So a really good way to do that is just look up YouTube videos, find new high ground retakes, find new things that you haven't done before, and start practicing. Find new tunnels to do. When you're fighting people in arena or whatever the case is, do things you haven't done before. Like, try a high ground retake on them. Try doing a specific edit on them where you wouldn't normally do it in game. Like, go out of your comfort zone and, almost like I said, push yourself to do something you haven't done before. The best way to improve is by keep pushing yourself and doing things that you've never done before. If you see like pro players on Twitch or whatever, all the highlight reel clips that they have where they do some insane edits before, or crazy high ground retakes, box the player and then kill them, they've done that dozens of times in creative or whatever. They practice it and they're not scared to try it in game. So many people I see do crazy high ground retakes, crazy box fights in 1v1s or box fights or 1v1s, or I just said that, in creative, but then when it comes to real game, they're just boring. They don't do anything crazy. They just kind of keep doing the same thing. When in reality, if you really want to start improving, like I said, you kind of got to push yourself. So you got to kind of go in game and be like, hey, I'm going to try and do a crazy retake on this guy, or I'm going to try and box this person like a fishy, edit on him, and then kill him, right? Like, there's so many things that you need to do in game to actually start improving, because if you just go into the game and don't really work on anything and don't really do anything, you're not going to become better. So another great tip to improve kind of all your mechanics is, obviously you can play like Kovacs for an hour a day, you can play aim trainers for an hour a day, you can do whatever you want, and playing all those will 100% help you improve. But another great way to see improvement is playing things that incorporate all of these. So basically what I mean about that, and the main kind of tip I can give, is basically incorporate fighting and work on your things during fighting. So what I mean about that is, basically there's kind of 3 to 4 really good ways to help improve all around. So those ways would be box fighting, 1v1 build fighting, zone wars, as well as just fighting people. So basically what I mean about that is, if you go into zone wars and you're working on fighting people, because obviously there's a lot of people, and then you're working on every single mechanic, well, obviously you're going to improve. So in a fight, you're working on 3 different things without you even realizing it. You're working on your editing, because obviously you're going to be editing on your opponent. You're working on your building, because in the majority of fights nowadays, most people can end up build pretty well. And then you're going to be working on your aiming, because obviously you're going to end up trying to kill the person with your shotgun or your AR or whatever the case is, right? So basically what you need to do is start playing, instead of just playing like Kovacs for an hour and then you go do editing courses for like 30 minutes and then you hop into a game and play arena for the next 5-6 hours. Instead of playing arena for 5-6 hours, maybe play arena for like 2 to 3 and then go play some zone wars, go play some box fights, go play some 1v1s, because obviously in arena you're going to improve, you're going to get better, especially if you're fighting people, but you're not going to have that many fights. Like, unless you're W keying every single game and you happen to stumble across a lot of people, majority of the time it's just going to be running around, looting, etc., etc. But when you're playing box fights, you're playing 1v1s, you're in zone wars, you're constantly fighting, and when you're constantly fighting, you're constantly practicing those kind of edits, those building techniques, those editing or aiming techniques. And the same thing kind of goes as to what I said for the tip, where basically you need to start going out of your limit and you got to start practicing things you haven't done before. Those are the perfect times where you can start practicing things you haven't done before. When you're in arena, I understand why some of you guys might be like a little bit scared, or you don't want to lose points, you don't want to die, etc, etc. So in zone wars, in box fighting, in 1v1, you can kind of start practicing those things you haven't done before in game, and you can start getting more comfortable. And that way, when you go into game, you're more comfortable with it, and then you can actually start applying it into your game. So hopefully these tips helped you guys out. If it did, make sure you slap a like button on it, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, use creator code WraithFN in the item shop, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.